So are we just going to head straight in?
No, we need to avoid any unnecessary combat.
I am CouchCube, and this is a sequel list to top local co-op split-screen campaigns. We're looking at a broad scope of time here, with a lot of games coming from deep within 2015 right up to present day. We're starting with Super Bomberman. This is available on PlayStation 4. This is PlayStation 5 footage.
For the Black Bomber, nothing is impossible.
4 players local, a really cool galactic map, a boss fight, loads of power-ups everywhere. Half of the fun is blowing up blocks, getting new abilities, quick shoes, bigger radius on your bombs, and it's also got a die-hard PvP mode, as you know. This list will be ranked. We've got 10 to 12 games on it. We're starting with some of the more niche areas. Super Bomberman is kind of iconic in the retro gaming calendar, especially on that arcade machine. Early versions of this game didn't really see a campaign structure. We have it here in droves. Now, Fat Princess, this one is very undercover. It was an ARPG that came out in 2015 off the back of a PlayStation 3 sister title. This one's interesting because it's got a lot of detail on loadout and character choice. There are actual classes, and the gore is through the roof. If you're into cake, giant killer babies, and some really cool side quests and main quests with massive amounts of loot and infantry. This plays like the Minecraft dungeons with the amount of depth it offers on every single loadout slot, including a shield, and there's different buttons for what class you choose. Bit like Dungeon Bros. It looks cute and for all the family, but it's actually quite difficult, and there's loads of blood and guts everywhere. So this is an adult game that's encased in a strange, macabre, ultra-violent world.
Gobble, gobble!
Diablo 4 doesn't really have anything to worry about, but if you've exhausted all of the local co-op ARPGs that are out there and never seen this, you will have a lot of fun with it. It's got some good bosses, some massive scope with the size of the map, and helping out everyone in the village and gathering loads of resources and getting some really cool loot going. There's quite a lot of special enemies lying around with like normal names or strange names. There's a spider here called Lazy Susan. It is a game that allows you to change into a chicken at the checkpoints, and also being able to switch your loadout at each checkpoint. It's kind of a stroke of genius. This game's got a lot to offer.
The superior one controls anger and restrains instincts.
Yes, it's time for Colossus Down, an absolute ludicrous side-scrolling mech beat-em-up that's got way too many cutscenes and dialogue speech bubbles for its own good, but when it gets going, it kind of gets going. Giving you a very local co-op targeted story that's completely independent to the single player save. Don't find that out the hard way. But this game features loads of cool face button moves, electricity, flames, smashing the police and army with your super mech powers, and you've got your giant pig buddy. It's really off the hook in sections. You have this strange health replenish mechanic, and you have to keep picking up lemonade. That's represented by the bottle on the top left, and then the circle around it is like a heat meter, so you can't spam all your specials. The specials are amazing, and the bolt-ons are really good, and when the SWAT team came out in this helicopter, there was smiles all around the room. It's not going to beat Streets of Rage 4, but it is an interesting story, and it's kind of got this Cult of the Lamb vibe with its like dark areas, and it's definitely not one for the kids. Its campaign is quite a journey, however, and it is worth powering up your mech and seeing what endgame looks like. You might have that one mate that played Contra back in the day. Contra was called Midnight Resistance in the UK. It came out on the Spectrum and the Commodore 64, so loads of my generation got to play this type of side-scrolling shooter. This is grab a few beers, smash that campaign, die 1,000 times. It really is hardcore, but it's such a cool love letter. I think it's fair to say that this is the nearest thing you're going to get to a local co-op Valfaris game on the system, and if you haven't seen a review of that or played it, it's totally off the hook, but it isn't local co-op. This is It shines with a bit of modern tech, doesn't drop frames, but I love its look, its pace. This game has you on the edge of your seat a lot. The deaths just come past so fast. It's got this strange invincibility window on the roll. Getting your head around that takes a while, but once you're both synergized, the game comes into its own, featuring some amazing campaign levels and bosses, really varied environments, different things to do, hanging, jumping, getting the crap scared out of you by enemies coming from either side of the screen. It's not just a left to right. Beautiful little game, totally recommended. It's Monsters 2 from Pixel Junk. I have a huge soft spot for Pixel Junk as a studio. They gave us some incredible shooters and racers on the PlayStation 3. A real local co-op commitment from those guys. Housemark, I'm looking at you. It is a tower defense game, but it's very free roaming, and you scuttle around and you set up things on the route to stop these spiders, monsters, God knows what, coming down this amazingly rendered, very sweet, cute, adorable looking map. That's one of the things, is the aesthetic, music, everything just sort of slows your pulse down. Well, to a certain extent, but it's quite a relaxing one, this, and I haven't spoken about it enough, I don't feel. It's got a very robust economic system, making you go and grab the coins to upgrade the various towers, but the towers can be passively upgraded by dancing around them, and the more people that dance, the quicker the upgrade goes. It causes this really cool panic because you need to get your arse in gear, get things ready before the inevitable comes to your little hut and kills all the little baby tribes people, which is quite sinister. I remember this being available on the Switch, Lee. I know you're probably still playing it. And the unlocks and background sort of cosmetics, everything you can get going with the tribe and different levels, there's snow and loads of areas to explore with it. It lasts you ages. This is a full-blown, beautiful little indie game, and it's totally for the whole family. I'm pretty sure you can take 2 people online locally for a 4-player, full-blown. Next up, we got the new version of Pang, under the name of Pang Adventures. I was a huge fan of this arcade cabinet as a young boy. Having this with a local co-op buddy, a revived system, new weapons, it's loud, it's proud, it's high octane. This is the opposite to Monsters 2. A very, very cool level select map that features bosses when you traverse the different countries, a little bit like the Indiana Jones scene. And it's got a cheeky little PvP in with the crown system on who's got the best score at the end of each level. It's very competitive. Online leaderboards, flamethrowers. It's the way forward, people. The original game did have different weapons in it, but it wasn't as varied as this, and it's crazy aesthetic with like the western theme, and the bosses like giant tentacle beasts. It really does mix things up with that game structure. It's not just firing arrows at balloons 100% of the time, even though that is damn fun. You've also got quite a lot of content here to unlock, including a panic mode, which is a little bit like a roguelike system where it just sends a tiered bunch of nightmare difficult levels to you. And that's the thing, difficulty might be a bit of a wall for the casual, but again, that mate, he's still around with the beer playing Contra, he's going to love this as well. Zombie Vikings is one of my favourite and funniest side-scrolling beat-em-ups. Pop-up book aesthetic, funny humour with every character in it is really something you can't wait to go back to.
How's the wife and thousands of kids?
It's okay. I'm just feeling old. Did I tell you I turned 10 days old last hour?
Eat a turd, Steve.
Everything is so on point with the game, including weapon unlocks, having charms slotted, and also huge, crazy scary moves, and each character's got this strange backstory. One of them's like half octopus. There's bacon rashers getting thrown out at one point. The maggots in the opening sections of the game are just hilarious. This game is so much fun with 4 people on local co-op.
Did you do us a favor and just stop.
At the end of each level, if there's a reward, you have to fight for it in a little arena, so there's no avoiding some of the PvP on it. Its level select map is also this beautiful little Viking parchment with this boat moving through these really quite well thought out environments, but it's all of the production. There's loads of really good voice acting in it, but the bedrock of the beat 'em up gameplay and its hack and slash capabilities with a roll and a dodge and a guard and special moves all over the shoulder buttons. You're never bored with it and you're always laughing. I think also its character differential and the sense of humour applied to some of the weapons. Like you get a cat on a stick, there's that Castle Crashers thing going on with that self-awareness on the humour.
Ah, truly the greatest mind-body connection is the neck.
Nine Parchments is kind of like the Harry Potter ARPG we never had. Beautiful environments, actually quite a solid twin stick, switching out your magic, a little bit like Magicka 3, but this is stellar looks and really cool performance as well on the 5. We're actually looking at a very deep, like, mage builder RPG with some awesome magic in it and leveling, massive detail on character cosmetic, different staffs, different moves, elements. Some enemies are obviously immune to certain aspects, and you can join beams and become the ultimate badass wizard. It's totally deep enough to still hold up to some of today's action RPGs. It is getting on a bit now, but I still have a lot of time for it. I think it's because of how deep you can go with your character build and that element system and all of the collectibles and unlocks, but it's got huge arena bosses that are totally show-stopping. They're really massive and excellent. They're always crazy creatures, and you really do have to team up with each other, start healing. It's definitely a teamwork local co-op this. That campaign is also very large, and it's the same content that you get on the single player, so that's pretty cool. Cat's Quest 2. This one's for you, Michael. Playing as a couple of mercenaries, kind of set in the classic RPG sword and sorcery environment, but everyone's a cat. It all looks really cute, and I love these greens and this countryside look to it. You are basically free roaming. You're gathering up quests and you're looking for side quests, little dungeons to go in. It's quite a cool little dungeon crawler with loads of puzzly aspects to each of the strange caves that you end up going down. This is one of those games that completely dupes you on its look. It starts getting quite deep and you've got to get that Dark Souls rolling. You do have a choice of build with melee, range and a mage character. You've also got a big special on triangle and just getting out of the way of stuff. This is just like chance fighting when you're traversing to a mission point. So there's a huge map, you get to check quest items. The inventory system alone stands up with any RPG or indie RPG that's out there at the moment. Talking of the old Dark Souls role, this is a couch coop cadet having to loiter around my corpse to revive me. It is quite a snappy, fast game on the combat front. But it's the fact that everyone's a cat and it looks this way, and you can still drag the young'uns in on this and secretly be having a damn good time with its very deep action RPG mechanics and magic system. Also, you can just go anywhere and end up in an OP fight with bosses, stuff down a dungeon you're not supposed to be in. I like that aspect with certain action RPGs. So it is finally time for number 2, a game I haven't spoken about for nearly half a decade. It's called Chariot, and it's a 2-player puzzle side-scroller involving a wooden car that both becomes your friend and your ultimate enemy. This game is totally on another level when it comes to solid, cool campaign structure and communication between you and your couch co-op friend. It's very passive but still difficult, and the puzzles are excellently pitched, giving you an obvious answer to everything but also reward if you start thinking outside the box. Its look is very cool, it's very clean and crisp. The game doesn't look like something of its age, and it plays beautifully. The rope has a shorten and lengthen mechanic on the shoulder buttons, meaning you can pull up the chariot or just grab your friend and get them up with the chariot. And it does turn into some funny little roller coaster sections, and there's melee, both range and close quarters. You get these bats, certain cave sections. Things definitely hot up with this game. The upgrades and what you can add to the chariot and who you can change as a character and what happens to you on that campaign, different entrances and exits to these absolutely colossal maps. This game should add more attention to it. Extremely quick honorary before we get to number 1. Spiritfarer didn't get the time I wanted to give it on this list. I didn't want to make the list too long. We only had sort of 10 games to stick with, but it's a very enchanting, story-driven side-scroller with like trade-in, visiting an open world map. It's pretty damn cool and certainly worth looking at.
Well, finally.
Trine 3 bowls in at number 1 for my local co-op campaign. This is an interesting series. I chose this one because I haven't played 4 yet, and 5 is just around the corner. You've got the opportunity to buy 1, 2 and 3 as a pack, and I was lucky enough to snap it up, and I haven't looked back since. It's phenomenal as a 2-player local co-op game. Trine's kind of stick is the 3-character system where you can switch them out in real time. That was the major aspect for the first couple of games, but this one gives a sort of almost introduction campaign to each of the different characters, including the soldier and the range and wizard. It's absolutely jaw-dropping looks, still bowl me over, even in 2023. I'm playing Resident Evil 4 Remake on the PlayStation 5, and this is on a 4K TV at sort of 1080, 720. I mean, I'm not sure the aspects, but it's old, and it still looks incredible. Its puzzle system and winch system, pulleys and physics are kind of universal. It's so cool seeing how you team up with someone to work these out, and all ages can approach this. It's not too scary, there's not that much blood in it. And I wanted to make the point that if you've never seen any of the Trine series and you see that 3-game discount or even see the first couple cheap, go for them. I wanted to talk about the boss fights, not show any because they're huge spoiler territory, especially in the early games. There's a Toad scene, they're so memorable and huge set piece. They make it multi-tiered, you have to move around an arena and work out different sections and solutions. So what a great game and what a great series. And talking of great series, you might not have seen my top 25 PS4, PS5 split screen games of all time. I've deliberately kept loads of those games off this list, but there is some good local co-op campaign content in there, so hop on over if you haven't done already. I will of course see you down there, and thank you very much for getting to this point in the video.